Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for being with us. The CBC is now projecting a Liberal minority government. The call coming nearly a day after Mark Carney led the Liberals to a narrow victory with many seats too close to call. That's Liberal leader Mark Carney celebrating last night's win. So far, the Liberals have been elected or leading in 169 seats, just shy of the 172 needed to form a majority. Meanwhile, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says he'll be stepping down, with the NDP set to lose official party status and Singh himself losing his own seat. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has also lost his longtime Ottawa riding to the Liberals. And some of the uncertainty over whether the Liberals could clinch a minority or majority had to do with ridings like Windsor, Tecumseh, Lakeshore. It was only just hours ago that the riding was finally declared a win for Conservative candidate Cathy Borelli. Jennifer Lagraza has been covering the race for us, and she joins us now live. Jen, it was a nail-biter, so talk us through it.
Yeah, it was definitely a very close race, Kat. Conservative Borelli actually won by 233 votes. But last night, before any of this was even called, we see, Borelli with her team, a lot of cheers and applause and smiles. They were already excited for what was possibly to come. Meanwhile, when we look at, former Liberal MP Eric Kuzmaricek, who was first elected to this riding in 2019, definitely more of a somber mood. But he was holding on to hope. And that hope was coming from these special ballots. So in this riding, there's about 3,500 special ballots. And these are ones that are either mailed in or they come from people who are incarcerated, for example. And we know that these ballots do take a little bit more time to count, which is where some of that delay came in with this riding. But then, the final call made just a few hours ago, which said that Borelli had won. And because of the large difference, that 233 votes, an automatic recount won't actually be triggered in this case.
So, Jen, what do we know about Cathy Borelli?
Yeah, so what we know is that she has run in this riding before. That was in 2021. She's never been an elected politician before, though, and she actually came into the riding for this election because she was put in to replace a Conservative candidate who had been thrown out, and that was because they made questionable comments that had resurfaced from a podcast episode. But here's what Borelli had to say about herself last night.
For all of my career and all of my volunteer efforts, I've worked hard to help people improve their life situations. And this job will be no different for me.
So with Borelli taking the seat in Windsor, Tecumseh, Lakeshore, that means we've seen blue kind of sweep across the Windsor-Essex region. In Windsor West, we have Conservative Harb Gill, who took that seat, which was a surprise because it was NDP for decades. And then as well in Essex, we had Chris Lewis, who was the incumbent there, also a Conservative, take that seat. So here's what one political expert had to say about this blue wave kind of taking over in our region.
They do have a united front in Ottawa in terms of opposition. And let's remember that this is a very strong opposition party. And so they're really going to be putting pressure on Mark Carney and the Liberals to pay attention to the auto sector, to pay attention to Windsor. And I don't think that the Liberals would ignore us, given our proximity to the United States and given really how much resources they put into this region just prior to the campaign. This was essentially ground zero for the tariffs, and so I think that people in Windsor shouldn't worry that they'll be ill served by putting in additional Conservatives in the riding.
So the Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore seat was one to watch today, especially as the Liberals were hoping that to take that, they would get to a majority government. But as we've heard from CBC News calling today, it is a minority government for the Liberals. Kat.
Thanks for that, Jen. That's CBC's Jennifer Lagraza reporting live for us tonight.
The Windsor-Essex ridings are now represented by Conservatives, with a Liberal governing in Ottawa, and some in the auto sector worry that their voices will get drowned by the blue wave. This union president says the election results were not the desired and disappointing.
With all due respect to those new candidates, they are now well known to the community, and even the voters have given them the trust to elect new MPs in Windsor area, being blue, outweighed it. The deep knowledge and connection with the previous representative we had.
They're going to want a seat at the table.
For this political scientist, the only way forward for the Conservatives is to lose a combative approach and work with the Liberal minority government and not against to get those auto sector voices on board. He says, though US President Donald Trump has walked back on some of his auto tariffs, they're not going away.
You're going to have to work with the unions, with the automakers, local communities to figure out, how can you best represent them, as part of the official official opposition.
Essex says this also applies to the Liberal government.
It's something that the federal government will have to pay attention to, right? I mean, unless they want this place to be completely hollowed out, because that is one potential outcome of the long-term tariff structure that's been put in place.
That is Emile Nabut's appeal to the Conservative MPs too.
And continue working with the Labour leader to protect the job and defend the Canadian sovereignty and be supportive to the Prime Minister.
Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Windsor.
Colette Kennedy is with us now for our first look at weather on a very hot day, and we're also on a storm watch. Talk us through it.
Yeah, we sure are, and we're seeing that threat, the really imminent stuff, kind of pushing eastward now, and we're still going to have to deal with the winds, but at least we'll have some of those stronger storms moving away from us. But look at the changes we'll be seeing, because, 27 degrees, I know, with humidex values into the 30s, but look at Sault Ste. Marie just at 1 degree, so the colder air that's behind there means our temperatures are going to be sliding off overnight tonight. As for some of the storms, there is still a severe thunderstorm watch here for a good portion of southwestern Ontario, okay? But much of those warnings are now eastward, and you can see that line of storms here, and some of the stronger stuff has now pushed out over the water. Still going to be breezy through the evening hours, and it will be cooling down. I'll have all the numbers for you coming up.
Sounds good. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Let's turn now to Windsor West, the riding that the Liberals were hoping to flip from the NDP, who've held it for years. But it was the Conservatives who snagged the win, which means the end of an era for the riding. After more than 2 decades as an MP, NDP's Brian Masse comes to the end of his career in federal politics, with a rich legacy of local advocacy behind him and a lot of unknowns ahead.
Although this campaign doesn't have the finish line that I wanted, again, I can't think of a day that didn't go by that I wasn't proud and also really grateful for the time and energy so many people put into this.
It was Conservative candidate Harb Gill who flipped the seat, a new face to politics, with Masse finishing a distant third. For former staffer and longtime supporter, Windsor councillor Kieran McKenzie, it's a sad day.
It hits pretty hard. Brian has been serving the community in his role as Member of Parliament for over 20 years, and like I said, I think in having worked on many of those issues, I know firsthand the impact that work can have on individual lives, but also for the community generally.
Masse was first elected back in 2002. McKenzie says he broke the mold around the power of an opposition member advocating on behalf of the region. While his opponents criticized Masse for not doing enough during his tenure, McKenzie points to a number of successes. He fought for a new border crossing, advocacy McKenzie said led to the Gordie Howe Bridge coming here.
Had Brian not been here, in the time where we were making the decisions around where new border capacity would be located and how that would fit into our community, it's my belief that we would have twinned the Ambassador Bridge. We'd still have trucks on utilizing Huron Church Road for the next 50 to 100 years. Sandwichtown would have been decimated with a road plowing, bringing all of that truck traffic through the middle of Sandwichtown.
Other legacy items, fighting for single sports betting, and of course the effort to create the Ojibwe National Urban Park, a boulder he's been pushing up a hill for years, yet to be officially realized. Plus,
Bike lanes on the Gordie Howe Bridge. No Brian Masse. There's no active transportation on that infrastructure. That is just that's just a fact.
Looking back on his long career, Masse kept coming back to the gratitude that he feels for the people that have been working with him. And he says that the real magic happened right here in his office, where he says every day staff were taking on case files that were changing people's lives.
My staff are obviously some of the best people that I've ever worked with anywhere, and they've been able to put their heart and soul into the citizens here.
Like helping them navigate the social service system, employment insurance, immigration issues. Now, a sign on the office door indicates all that comes to a halt.
So I'm grateful to have had a work experience with amazing human beings that have done so much that I can't believe that I've been so lucky to be part of that team.
As for what's next, he doesn't know, but his top priority is taking care of his staff and helping them transition to the next chapter. So how do residents feel about the election outcome? Well, Jacob Barker went out to find out.
Actually, there are lots of issues regarding the immigration issues. So those who are immigrated over here, so we covered our studies, all the things, and try to find jobs, and we want to stay here. So in that case, I think this government will help.
Results of the election. I think it was great. I voted for Mark Carney myself, and I think he's the only man that can actually stand up to Donald Trump. I don't think Poilievre has the wherewithal to stand up to him.
Surprised and disappointed.
What do you? So sum that up. Why?
Just I liked what the other person was standing for. There were things that were more important to me than I think we need to change.
Was it the outcome you were hoping for?
Not really. I was kind of disappointed with the NDP's loss of seats, but it was kind of the result I expected, I guess.
I'm an immigrant here. I'm on student work permit here, so I didn't vote at all. But I paid attention to the elections.
Okay, what do you think of the result?
They're good. I think it would be great, but it was a close call. I think we didn't know till the last moment who's gonna win. Even though it is a minority government, I think it will be good for the Canada.
In other news, Windsor is one of many municipalities with a strong mayor. Now, City Council is pushing to nix those special powers. Dawson Chen reports.
Windsor does not want or need a mayor with extra powers. That's according to the majority of City Council members, who decided on April 28th to make a formal request to the province: remove Windsor from the list of cities with strong mayor powers.
These powers were granted by the province without consultation with our municipality. Let me be clear, this isn't about attacking any one individual, Your Worship. This isn't about your leadership. It's about principles. When we debate, when we challenge, when we disagree, that's not dysfunction. That, in and of itself, is democracy.
Council's request is the result of a motion by Councillor Kieran McKenzie. Of the city's 11 council members, 8 supported the motion. Councillor Fred Francis said the dynamic between councillors and the mayor's office, and even between councillors and administration, has changed since Drew Dilkens was granted strong mayor powers almost 2 years ago.
Well, I've seen it firsthand. And if others have different experience, that's fine, but I'm just telling you about my experience. I'm talking about the future. There's going to be one day a mayor in that chair that's going to push the boundaries. There's going to be a mayor in that chair that's going to go a lot further than everyone anticipates today.
In the summer of 2023, Dilkens became one of 47 mayors across Ontario given additional powers of governance by Premier Doug Ford. The legislation allows Dilkens to restructure City Hall staff and veto council decisions. The original rationale was that mayors with more unilateral power would help speed up creation of housing. Dilkens has since used his hiring and firing abilities on top city positions, but he's only used his ability to veto council once, to eliminate Transit Windsor's tunnel bus service.
When I look at how we got here, and in terms of the veto power, I know people like to exaggerate, but the reality is, with respect to the veto power, it doesn't apply to every decision we make. It's very discrete. It applies to budget items.
Copies of Windsor's resolution will be sent not only to the Premier, but to the Provincial Minister of Housing and all Ontario municipalities. Windsor City Council might be against the strong mayor powers, but the Doug Ford government is moving in the opposite direction. Earlier this month, Ford announced that he wants to bestow the extra powers on 169 more mayors. Dolson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
Welcome back. Donald Trump is marking his 100th day in office by holding a rally in Michigan. And when it comes to his performance thus far, rally-goers are giving him an A+. Paul Hunter reports.
Yeah, make no mistake, these are hardcore Trump supporters. I made my way to the front of the line when we first got here and chatted with people who'd been here since Sunday in line, waiting to catch a glimpse of, to cheer on Donald Trump. This being the 100th day of this Trump presidency, 100 days being the traditional time for a report card on any president. And so Trump is on the minds of everyone here today, and that means tariffs, prices, jobs, the economy in this country, Trump's style of governance, and yes, that means Canada. Here's a sampling of what we heard. Donald Trump, 100 days, report card, go.
Oh, I love it. 100 days, what he's done. I like the tariffs because maybe it's going to be a little rough for us right now, but for my 4 grandkids and the generations after, I believe it will be good for them.
Prices are going to go up. Is that the right approach to take?
I think the approach to take is to look at the long-term goal. All right, so if we have tariffs on imports from China, for instance, we're paying a short-term price. The long-term price of not having an economic policy that brings jobs and production back into the United States is much greater than any $15 surcharge on your Temu order or wherever you're ordering from China. So this is a little bit of short-term turbulence to begin the process of reshoring American jobs.
USA! 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 Canada needs to pay attention to who they're dealing with. I mean, everything that they have, we make right here at home in America. We don't need them as much as they need us, so they need to be a little more respectful as to what's going on. All Trump wants to do is even the playing field.
The vehicles that are being sold in the United States, we want to build them here in the United States, and that's what Trump's trying to do.
51st state. Do you take that seriously?
Well, if the Canadian people wanted to do it, what Trump's doing on that issue, he's campaigning. Your taxes would probably go way down, and your national defense would probably go way up. So you guys decide.
100 days in, 3 years, 9 months to go. Say many that we talked to, if they had their way, even longer. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Macomb County, Michigan.
We're learning more about the victims of the deadly vehicle attack in Vancouver and more about the 30-year-old suspect. Georgie Smythe reports.
We're beginning to learn more about some of the 11 people who lost their lives in an alleged attack at a Vancouver street festival last weekend. That includes the Lee family. Lin Huan, Richard Lee and Katie Lee were killed just as they were departing the festival, leaving their 16-year-old surviving son who stayed home to do his homework. I spoke to Richard's brother, Tone Lee, about how his young nephew is coping.
I think he's still in a state of shock and he's still processing everything. His entire life just changed overnight.
Lee says he's speaking so other families can grieve in private.
We're just one of many, many families that are going through this experience, and it's a senseless violence to innocent people, and as a society, we have to be better.
We also got an update from the VPD on other victims killed and injured. 9 of the deceased are women, 2 are men, all lived in Metro Vancouver. 7 people are still critical in hospital, 3 others are in serious condition. The accused, KG Adam Lowe, has been charged with 8 counts of second-degree murder after allegedly driving an SUV into a crowd of people at a Filipino festival. More charges are expected soon. Sergeant Steve Addison from the Vancouver Police Department also confirmed the accused did have an interaction with police in a neighboring jurisdiction the day before the alleged attack.
That contact was not criminal in nature, and it did not rise to the level where mental health intervention was required.
Lowe remains in custody and will be back in court on May 26. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, Vancouver.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with Colette. Colette Kennedy is back with us now for more on weather. Colette, I know you've been tracking some stormy conditions passing through, so where do things stand now?
Well, we're doing much better. The reason is the threat has really moved eastward, so it's not over with, but it is for southwestern Ontario. And just showing you the severe thunderstorm watch area has all been lifted through here, and you can just see it off to the east. So elsewhere in the province, I'll kind of show you what's happening there, but I want to deal with what's been going on. You know, we're going to see a real change with our temperatures and the humidity, feeling like the low 30s, 26 degrees, Chatham-Kent 24. Sarnia is still holding on at 25, but that front is coming on through. Look at Goderich at 11 degrees, and that's what's going to happen. A new air mass moves in, and it's right along that cold front that's providing that lift and where we've had the severe weather. But with that occurring, our temperatures will be dropping, but we'll be clearing out as well. Now, the sustained winds, we're still seeing some of the sustained winds over 40 kilometers an hour, and the wind gusts nearly to 70, and that's one thing that will linger longer, even though thunderstorms have moved eastward, lightning strikes, and that risk of hail. But in terms of the winds, still going to be breezy through this evening. And then after midnight, we'll find those winds beginning to back off, and they will be lighter for tomorrow. By the way, there have been areas a little further east, including at Pearson Airport in Toronto, where the winds have gusted over 100 kilometers an hour there. So that can definitely do damage. So there's the line of storms over Lake Erie. That's moving away. Southern one moving towards the Niagara region. And here we are getting into some of that clearing. A closer look at some of those lightning strikes and cells from earlier. But the most recent images there showing what's going on and how we've dried out. So there goes that stormy nature moving on, marching eastward. Now we get a bit of a breather for tomorrow as we clear out, in terms of we'll have some sunshine coming back our way. But I do want you to know there's another system, not necessarily with severe weather, but we have the chance as we go into Thursday that's going to be coming in and bringing in some rain showers. Thursday, even into the evening hours, there'll be a bit of a break. Then even overnight Thursday into early Friday, still some lingering showers. Tonight, 3 degrees. What a change, right? From the heat we're experiencing even right now still. And tomorrow, back closer to seasonal. In fact, a couple of degrees below, 15 degrees for that high. 22 on Thursday with the rain showers, slight severe weather risk, 18 into Friday.
Well, between the heat and the stormy weather, it feels like summer, Colette. Thank you so much, and thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Good night.